Hey y'all, I wanted to hop on here and give you some thoughts that I left off on the last recording, or I should say the last video that I did. I was all excited. I want to bring you all the touchy-feely good stuff about what I've been doing to help overdo or overcome my mental health stuff as well as some of my physical health stuff, using natural forms of healthcare. And I wanted to report a couple of statistics that I had seen on the Veterans Administration website. And so, I kind of take statistics for what they're worth in terms of like what can we gain from statistics, because I think one that a lot of us are familiar with is 22 a day. And really, it's between 20 and 22 a day veterans are committing suicide. And I don't want to just focus on veterans, okay? I mean, trust me, 9 times out of 10, there's a slew of other things that are kind of going on in a veteran's life, in addition to combat environments and things like that, that actually make for some really skewed data, if you will, and veterans are more likely to, commit suicide and stuff like that. But what I really wanted to get into is just suicide, period. So I pulled up some data from the VA. They did this, what is called a meta study, which is they looked at data from 2001 until 2014. And what I am going to do is let you know that myself, I'm not going to ever be a statistic. I mean, I'm going to flat out sit here and tell you that no matter what I do, I will not be a part of this statistic. And so I want you to share. I want you to talk to others about this thing. I did another video. I posted it on this page. And it has helplines, phone numbers, places to text, things like that, because you need help. And if you need help or you know somebody who needs help, by all means, these things are available to you. So I'm going to go ahead and share this data with you. Like I said, this is the suicide among veterans and other Americans. So this is over the course of about 14 years. This was just published a couple of years ago. It has been a while, of course, between 16 and now. But, really, this is going to give us sort of like the better data that is available right now. And I'm just going to kind of like go over the executive summary. This thing's like about 48 pages long. And so I don't think that any of us necessarily want to go over it. But it talks about some different things. It talks about, treatment for PTSD, substance abuse disorders, depression, and suicidal ideations. The Veterans Administration, along with a lot of other really great healthcare facilities, are trying to identify, a lot of those people that are possibly in that situation, especially veterans. The downside is, though, is that there are really not very many veterans who are currently enrolled at the VA, which really is an unfortunate thing. Like, either it's because they don't qualify for VA care for some strange reason, or they just don't necessarily have the capability of enrolling. And so it's super important that we try to capture as many people as possible, try to put them into the system. That way we can make sure that they can actually get help. So really the summary of this that I looked at is pretty sad. I actually started crying when I read this, because of the fact that, I just, one is too many. And I really want us to, reach into our communities and reach into our families. And, we need to be willing to save the one, because nobody deserves to be alone. Nobody deserves to have to deal with their situations alone. And so, like I said, I started actually getting pretty tearful when I was actually reading this. But here is a lot of the data. It subsequently breaks it down into different aspects that they looked at, gives you all the charts and everything like that, does a veteran comparison to civilians. But here is some of the really, stands out at you data, is that usually about 20 or 22 veterans are actually, they die by suicide each day. The thing is that veterans account for 18% of those deaths, of the adult population, and even in 2010 they were a little bit higher. The way that veterans do commit the suicide is by a firearm, and about 67%, so 2/3 of those were actually by firearms. Suicide for veterans across the line, regardless of age and sex, is higher. But the thing that really got me, guys, was veteran suicides for females is actually 2.5 times higher among female veterans than U.S. civilians. And what does that even mean? So that means that about almost 2 out of every 3, women veterans are actually committing suicide. It's just an alarming statistic that we really need to focus on this, because unfortunately I'm not necessarily saying that veterans that are a higher risk, if you will, due to the environment in which we perform. But when you look at the actual raw data of suicides for civilians alone, it's still a very staggering statistic. I'll see if I can actually pull it up. Bear with me, because like I said, I'm not necessarily very happy okay, so I think that this might be it, right? So when you look at it, for female civilians, when the number and the rate, if you will, of female civilians for the number of suicides, it spikes right there. Do you notice that? It spikes actually in mid-age. And that's something that we need to attack, y'all. We need to like focus on suicides, period. And like I said, the best way for us to be able to help out with suicides is that we truly have to dive into this and be willing to talk to people, okay? We'll talk about signs and all that kind of stuff in maybe another video, but this number, we want to come down this chart. We want this number to actually be towards 0, if not be 0, okay? But as you can see, it has this mountain effect where middle-aged women to women that are in their 50s are actually committing the suicides more often. So it's at a rate of 10 per 100,000. So we're looking at raw data, we're looking at between 40 and say 60 years old, about 1,500 to 2,000 or over 2,000 are actually committing suicide. So this is a staggering statistic, y'all. We have got to help each other out on this one. So this is the actual age-specific suicide rates, where it actually peaks, between 40 and 60. Whereas female veterans, it's actually between those 18 to 29-year-olds. 18 to 29-year-olds, guys. Are you serious? I mean, not even 30 years old, and the vast majority of these female veterans, unfortunately, are coming right out of high school and serving in the military, whatever branch it might be. And guys, they're not even 30 years old. I mean, life experience-wise would dictate that, we are still way too young. But a lot of these ladies are unfortunately experiencing some very traumatic things, while they're on their service. So we have got to look for ways to mitigate this, and awareness is key, and that's exactly what I'm here to do, is share this video, tell people that this is an alarming statistic, and that we need to do something about it. We have got to put people in the hands of people who can help. And we may have to be that person that can actually help. And so we need to make sure that we just be there. Just be a community for them and talk to them, okay? Because this is something that we've got to stop. So one of those biggest reasons why I was spurred along to come on here and not make it a morbid talk is I myself am a sufferer from post-traumatic stress disorder as well. And so I just wanted to say that there is hope. Like I said in my video, and please catch it if you haven't already, is that the one thing that I have learned is that there absolutely is hope. And I have done a lot of natural things to be able to help. Manage my situation and manage my condition, is that by all means, this is not intended to replace, modern medicine. I mean, modern medicine absolutely has a role, when used accordingly. But what I specifically wanted to do was I wanted to make sure that I was doing something that was going to be very long term. And so I focused on, like I said before, I focused on my nutrition. I focused on getting better sleep. I focused on removing toxins. You'd be surprised, y'all, at how many toxins we consume that actually wreaks havoc in our mental health. And so one of the other things that I used was essential oils. And let me tell you the story about how Jackie got introduced to essential oils and then how I also got introduced to essential oils. Is that Jackie also had a very traumatic thing. You may have seen her stories on this page, or you may have seen her stories while she was, beginning to build her blog. Her blog was actually an avenue to be able to just sort of like share her musings with the world. And unfortunately, her younger sister, Dinah, committed suicide. Oh, I think it's like 9 years ago, y'all. I want to say that it's been 7 years because unfortunately we used my son as a benchmark, if you will, in terms of like knowing that he was about 2 months old when my sister-in-law committed suicide. And our entire world was rocked. And we just felt like things were distant from us and that there was no hope. And we kind of went about our business, if you will. We really had to try to find ourselves, and we didn't know what to do. And we didn't know, Jackie especially, you could just see the turmoil that was going on inside of her for losing her baby sister. And so I can't remember when, but I do remember having conversations with her sometime within that first 6 months, and that she said that she wasn't going to allow this to define who she is. And so within that next 6 months to 12 months, she found essential oils. And she also had her issues with God. And I don't know if you guys have had something so traumatic happen to you that you're wondering, something along the lines of like why God could allow something like this to happen. And so she found Elevation. Elevation is the joyful blend that doTERRA makes. And she said that this isn't going to define her. And so she literally opened up that bottle and said that as I breathe in this essential oil blend, I am going to breathe in joy and breathe out everything that has happened. And I noticed an actual tangible change, you guys, to the point where I noticed that she was choosing joy. And I want you to know that there is hope and that you can actually choose joy as well. And so she did the essential oils for a little while. I was a bit of a skeptic because if you all remember, I'm a Western trained physician assistant. So I'm a problem solver. I'm a problem fixer. I have to have you tell me as a patient, you've got X, Y, and Z going on, and I'm able to come up with a diagnosis and let's come up with a treatment plan, right? So it's not like that. I shouldn't say it's not like that. What I'm saying is that we are dynamic creatures, and there is a lot of stuff that makes us up, and that A and B doesn't always necessarily equal C. I love the fact that we're in a society in which we have antibiotics to combat a lot of our physical infectious issues that come up. Trust me, guys, our medicine is outstanding. And we just only hit the tip of the iceberg because there are so many other dynamics that play into our lifestyle that we really can take control of. And so I saw these essential oils. I saw that what they were doing for Jackie. I got my interest got piqued. And then I just said, well, what's that all about? Because I noticed that her mental situation was improving and the kids seemed more healthy. The wellness of the three of them was unbelievable. And so I said, what are you guys doing? And how do I also try to take advantage of this? And so I started using essential oils, and I noticed that, I wanted to do it methodically. Here comes my logical brain is that I said, okay, I want to march this out and take steps every single way that I can in order to help. And so I started using something like peppermint and wild orange to feel invigorated. And so that was one of the very first kind of blends, if you will, between the peppermint and the wild orange that I came around with. And y'all, it works. I felt invigorated. I felt empowered. I felt ready to take on the world. And so I started off with those two. And then, of course, I had a lot of aches and various musculoskeletal things that needed support. And so what did I do? I reached for the deep blue. Right? And so like I started slathering my body in deep blue. I think at that time the lotion was coming out very shortly. And so I realized I'm going to take deep blue. And by the way, guys, I use it full strength. I was putting it on my low back. I was putting it on my knees. I was putting it on my arms and on my shoulders. And I was like, this feels just like all those other things that I have put on my body. But the fact of the matter is, I'm using something that I know that is natural and it's completely plant-based. And I felt great about that. And actually, I felt great, period. And so I noticed a lot of my mobility started getting better. I started realizing that I could work outside for longer periods of time and be able to tend to things. And so so I used the deep blue, and I became a huge believer in deep blue. And then I said, you know what, I need like something that's going to help my nutrition, right? Like, because I was starting to carry a lot of weight. I was an emotional eater. And I was like, what can I do to like really give myself that foundation? Well, I started thinking, I'm not eating right? So I need to focus on my nutrition. And so what helped with that? Well, I started doing some doTERRA supplementation. And I started off simple. I started with the Lifelong Vitality Complex, which gave me those macro and micronutrients that I needed. I felt much better using those. And then I started taking it a little step further, and Jackie and I started diving into TerraZyme, and we started diving into PB Assist. Because I'm like, you know what? We started doing a lot more research and figuring out that gut health is definitely related to overall health. And so we wanted to revamp that entire thing. We did a couple of detoxes, if you will. Started feeling really great. Did some lemon, by the way, inside of my water. Yes, I made sure that I used a glass bottle, but we started doing lemon inside the water. Started feeling miraculous that way as well. And so I noticed that each one of these things was working very systematically throughout my entire thing. But then I said, okay, well, let's see. Physical health is one thing, but let's also focus on some mental health. Because if you think about it, mental health and physical health, by all means, they play together. And so I was like, what can I start doing to like really help these feelings of anxiousness that I have like all the time? Y'all, I'm like massively fearful of things that don't happen. Let me give you a description of like how crazy I am. I think about things that just aren't going to ever happen. And unfortunately, I believe that they're going to be true. So I had this like impending sense of doom about so many different things that it's just unbelievable. I laugh about it now because I stand here as a person who has taken charge and said to myself, I'm not going to allow this to define me anymore. And instead, I am going to embrace it, and I'm going to realize that it's completely all just made up in here and that it's never going to happen. And I've started finding out that I'm more and more right. And so I started with some essential oils. Serenity essential oil blend and balance, and even vetiver I started putting together. I figured I need balance, I need grounding, I'm crazy. Let's work on that one. Okay, so that one sounds good. All right, I need to chill myself out. You guys can tell that I'm pretty high strung, and this is without very many essential oils on board yet. So bear with me. So I started doing some balance, and I realized, yeah, I'm starting to feel a lot more grounded. I really was. And the Serenity was like my go-to for like always getting great sleep. And we still, we'll diffuse Serenity from time to time, especially in the bedroom to help us get some sleep. So I figured the two of them, why not? They got to be better together. So I put Serenity and Balance together, and I started actually using those in a little 5 milliliter roller bottle. And they were definitely, like, I was vastly improved in terms of my overall feelings of like just nervousness about everything. And so I said, there's got to be something that I can do to really kind of drive things home. Like I feel like I've got like a 80-90% solution here. What can I do to like really bring it home? And so that's when I reached for Vetiver. Vetiver is a really wonderful, rooty, earthy plant that comes from Haiti. And it's like essentially just this big ball of grass. We use the roots of it. That's where the essential oil comes from. And vetiver is fantastic for people to get restful sleep. Vetiver alone. But like if you're somebody like me who's on the spectrum of dead and unbelievably crazy, I'm definitely more toward that unbelievably crazy side. And so I said, all right, by the way, just to give you an idea, if I take, I'm part of that very small percentage of the population that if I actually consume a Benadryl, like if I get stung by a bee or if I feel like I've got like some allergy thing going on, I barely use Benadryl really at all anymore. But when I did, when I was practicing medicine and that sort of thing, I would take it, right? And I was part of that small population that instead of it actually making me drowsy, it actually invigorated me. And so I was like, all right, hopefully Vetiver won't do the same thing. Because I heard that Vetiver makes people like practically comatose when they utilize it. So I was like, well, if I'm all the way over here on this side of crazy, maybe it'll just simply mellow me out. And guys, that's exactly what it did. I added it to the Balance and the Serenity, and all of a sudden the synergy of all of those wonderful essential oils together gave me hope and a purpose and an ability to just chill the you-know-what out. And like this mind fog and brain fog and energy that I was using to just have all of these crazy thoughts that were never going to happen, for me to actually start believing that was mind-blowing. And so now I tell people all the time about something that I have called to and I have referred to as my Veterans Blend. The Veterans Blend is those three oils, and let me give you the quick recipe on them. Actually, let me go ahead and bring myself back up. So the Veteran Blend is those three, actually 2 essential oil blends and then 1 regular essential oil single. It is the Balance, it's Serenity, and then it's Vetiver. And the way that I mix it is I usually take a 5 or a 10 milliliter bottle. All you're going to simply do is double it to make it a 10 milliliter bottle. If you want to give it to a veteran or someone that you feel needs this particular blend. I put 10 drops of Serenity, 10 drops of Balance, 5 drops of Vetiver, and then I use the rest of it, or I put the rest of it in with fractionated coconut oil. I apply it to my wrists. I apply it to my neck because I love the smell of it, so it's almost like a natural cologne as well. I've had lots of other people come up to me and be like, Frank, what is that? What is that smell? So it definitely captures people's aroma. And then I also put it over my heart, and it has just been fantastic for me. I used to have this big old mustache and goatee here too, and I used to actually put it all inside of that hair. That way I could smell it, and I just pretty much almost bathed in the stuff. I still, matter of fact, I'll still just apply it to my upper lip. I get a nice shiny upper lip when I put it on. But guys, that has been truly revolutionary for me to help with all of those feelings of frustration and stuff like that. And so I offer that to you. If you get something, from this video, great. I just wanted to tell you about my Veterans Blend and let you go out and share this with the world and say that, by all means, it's one component of a many different amount of things that I'm using to personally manage my health, mental health conditions and stuff like that. I still do other things. I still go see counselors. I still go see the VA. So everybody's still very aware. I have this it's called a multi-practice approach to being able to manage condition, because Western medicine can absolutely complement these Eastern philosophies. And that's really what we're here for, is that tip of the iceberg, healthcare in America, totally wonderful, totally useful. But there are 4 or 5 things that we can choose every single day that can absolutely play into a very healthy lifestyle. And so I urge you, get mental health providers, get regular health providers into your life to help you with those science-based philosophies. And then do the research and listen to folks like ourselves who have been able to learn about how food is nutrition and food can be considered medicine, and then also how adequate sleep is unbelievably important, and looking at toxins in your household and things like that. Gain from our experiences, and by all means, we want to share this with you. So I hope that that was useful to you. Like I said, suicide simply sucks, and we have got to start helping each other out on this. I am sick and tired of seeing how it's becoming not necessarily accepted, but not as negatively discussed as it really is. It is absolutely detrimental, and we need to start moving those statistics downward, and it requires all of us to help each other out. So anyway, I hope you found this valuable, and please comment below. Let us know your story, and I cannot wait to continue to talk to you throughout the fall and even into the winter about how lifestyle is crucially important to our health and how we can help you get there. So anyway, this is Frank. I'm signing off, and y'all have yourself a very, very good day. Bye-bye now.